This is Brave Words, true stories told well. I'm Adrian Ferreira.
And I'm Rob Carlton. Today's storyteller is Richard Glover. Richard has written regularly for the Sydney Morning Herald, The Age and the Washington Post. And when we say regularly, we're talking for decades and decades every week. For many years, he presented the comedy program Thank God It's Friday on ABC local radio as part of his duties as the drive show host on ABC radio that he's been doing for 26 years and retired only recently. It's fair to say Richard Glover is one of New South Wales' favourite fellows. He's written 2 pieces for the theatre, Lone Star Lemon and A Christmas Story. He's the author of 2 memoirs, Flesh Wounds and The Mudhouse. Other non-fiction books include The Land Before Avocado, which was a huge hit.
They're all a huge hit.
I know.
People love Richard.
I know, but The Land Before Avocado, he really did.
He's so funny.
Get a rich vein there. Love, Clancy, The Dag's Dictionary, and most recently, How to Ruin a Child, a history of the alarming, hilarious and ever-changing advice given to Australian parents.
This story was recorded live at the Avoca Beach Theatre in Avoca Beach, and it has no title. It's a titleless story. You're going to love it.
I want to talk to you tonight about the indignities of old age. I know it's an outrageous topic for such a young audience. I mean, look at you. You're gorgeous. But here's the truth. Being over 65 is just terrible. My second knee replacement happened a few months ago, and even before the operation, it was causing family arguments. I was driving my son Joe to the tip. He's a 34-year-old fellow who likes inviting his dad to the tip because, 1, I have a ute, and 2, I always pay his tipping fees. And as we tootled through the M4 tunnel in Sydney, he turned and asked me a question. He said, "Are they going to put you under with a general anaesthetic?" I was quite offended by this question. "Of course they're going to put me under," I said. "They are basically chopping off my leg, having a fiddle and then sticking it back on. You don't chop someone's leg off and then give them a couple of Panadols, you idiot." Joe was unconvinced. "Do they really cut your leg off?" he asked. "Is there actually a point during the operation where your leg will be separated from your body? So that the surgeon could walk off with it, holding it under his arm, make a couple of phone calls, and then return to the operating theatre." I didn't like his tone. He was trying to minimise the drama of my situation. More of this, and I'd make him pay his own tip fees. Especially once 3 minutes later, I discovered how much the tip now costs in Sydney. $200 for a ute load. Who knew? Anyway, next day, I go in for surgery. At no point do I ask them if they will entirely remove my leg. I decide to leave it to them. Whatever the chef desires, that's my attitude. Take it entirely off or leave it connected by a flap of skin. It's up to you. I'm given a knockout drug, and then I wake up what seems like a minute later, but without the knee with which I was born. My mother put a lot of effort into that knee, but clearly not enough effort. Good one, Mum. The next day I saw the surgeon. "Was it bad, the knee you removed?" "I assume it was pretty bad." "Oh, it definitely needed to go," he said, before rapidly moving on to questions about my rehabilitation. This was not good enough. I wanted the speech. You know the speech? Has anyone else been through one of these operations? You want the speech. The speech I wanted goes like this: "Richard, I have never seen a knee in such a terrible condition. The nurses couldn't stop talking about it. There was hardly anything left to throw away, just a few stray bones. You must have been suffering so much, such agony, such pain, such distress. that I'd like to send your knee to a museum overseas so that everyone can know how brave you've been. There'd be music playing throughout this, something heroic and World War II, probably the theme to the Dam Busters. Now, later in recovery, I'd asked the doctor whether he'd be writing something up for the Lancet about my knee. You'll begin, I would predict, hoping he was taking notes, by describing the gasps of the nurses and doctors as they spotted the damaged joint. Hardly any bone left, the worst anyone had seen. How was he even able to hobble, brave man? Your article would then include some uplifting thoughts about the miracle of human resilience and the bravery of the Australian male. You'd then end with a link to my website, just in case anyone wanted to order one of my books. The doctor smiled, nodded his head and said, Richard, indicating what I assumed was his complete agreement. During the next few days, lying in my hospital bed, the medical staff continued to be very impressed with my courage and achievements, especially the physios, who ticked off my achievements on a large chart on the wall. Have you been through this? The large chart. Richard's washed himself. Tick. Richard's sat up and eaten his dinner. Tick. Richard's done a poo. Double tick. Angels sing and choirs join in. He's done a poo, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't enjoyed such praise over this particular achievement since I was 2 years old. Yet the knee, that's not the only part of me requiring work. Once past 65, seeing medical professionals becomes a full-time occupation. What do you do? A kindly young person might ask me at a barbecue. Oh, I'm over 65, I'd say. I work in the customer end of the medical industry. I fit in leisure activities and paid employment as best I can. At this point, even the most kindly young person discovers they need a fresh beer. The skin cancer fellow wants to see me every 6 months, the orthodontist, the optometrist every year. The dentist, who I last saw 3 years ago, sends monthly reminders full of barely concealed anger, like a telco whose bill has gone unpaid. At each place, whatever it is, there's a battery of tests. The cardiologist, in fact, wants to do 3 tests. 3 tests. This was only a month or so ago. There's a stress echo, then there's a blood pressure test, and there's finally an ultra stress test conducted by the receptionist when she gives you the bill. Sure, the blood will drain from your face, but how quickly will your skin tone recover? After she announces the figure, I hand over all the cards in my wallet: Medicare, private health insurance, credit card, Woolworths rewards. She works away at a machine, and as it turns out, I get a quarter of it back from my medical fund, plus an ongoing discount at Bunnings. I've now reassessed the message they broadcast on train stations: beware of the gap. I used to think it was a safety notice, but I now realise it's a warning about health cover. I'm not saying medical folks, there may be doctors here, I'm not saying medical folks don't mean well, although have you recently seen the price of private schools? And yet, there's the occasional upside to being old. My friend Neil, for example, sings the praises of the New South Wales Seniors Card, possession of which allows you to catch the train to Newcastle for $2.50. Yes, I said to him recently, that's fine, but what if I don't want to go to Newcastle? Go anyway, he said, and just contemplate how much money you are saving. You can then spend the money you've saved at the cinema in Newcastle, and if you use the seniors card when you're at the cinema, you'll save another $2.50, which will then cover the cost of another trip to Newcastle. He beamed at me, admiring his own mathematical genius. It's a virtuous circle in which everything pays for everything else. Now, not everybody I know is so upbeat about getting older. I have another friend, Phil. He describes being in a wine shop and he spots a bottle of Coonawarra Shiraz from one of his favourite producers. It costs a bit more than he usually spends, but not hugely more. It's nothing that couldn't be made back via a dozen trips to Newcastle on a New South Wales Seniors card. And he decides to buy it and then idly looks at the back label. It recommends cellaring for 15 years. He's 65. 15 years of cellaring puts him at 80. Oh, sorry, that can't be right. He does the sums again. So 65 plus 15, you take 5 from 15 and that gets you to 70, and then the spare 10 gets you... It does get you to 80. Wow, really? 15 years doesn't seem so much, but there you have it. Will he really, at age 80, want to glug a bottle of high-powered Australian Shiraz? Carefully, slowly, he slots the bottle back onto the shelf. He sighs, the air escaping as if from a punctured tyre. So here's my choice. Neil's optimism versus Phil's pessimism. I know which I'm choosing. I'm choosing the wine. 60 is the new 50 and 70 is the new 60. I just hope they can next redefine death. Maybe death could be the new I'm a little bit tired. In truth, I don't want to live forever. I just want a fair suck of the sauce bottle. When I ask the question, what am I living for? I have a pleasingly long list of reasons. I want to see my children flourish. I want to stare in wonder at my grandchildren. And I want to see my disastrous investment in second tranche Telstra shares finally come good. Yeah, I know. It's not going to happen. But I'll hold on. I will hold on until the current anti-carbohydrate dietary advice shifts once again, as it does every few years. I want to spend my last years, in whatever decade they fall, swimming in butter-spiked mashed potato. True, I don't want to live forever, but I do want to know the end of the story, the end of the whole tangle of tales that make up a human life. It's simple curiosity that keeps most of us alive. Life is a mystery novel, which no one ever gets to finish. You're forced to hand it back to the library, even though you're only partway through. Living forever, that's probably a bit much, but I'd sure like to see what happens next, and I bet you do too. Thanks very much.
Oh, Richard, that voice. We know it anywhere, don't we? It's so soothing. It's so uplifting.
He is the master of making fun of himself.
I know.
He just rolls around.
So funny and so brave in that story. I liked maybe death can be the new I'm a little bit tired.
Oh, yeah. There was...
so many bangers.
There's just... I mean, and also just the imaginings. I mean, there's so many things that he says that resonate with me, like that notion of, I wanted the speech. And, you know, the doctor, your knee was so bad. And then he just goes into it full bottle.
I know. And they're going to send it to a museum.
Overseas. He's so playful. He's so playful. It's just lovely. What I love about Richard's style, and I guess he gets this from, doing radio year after year after year, he takes these little bits, these little vignettes of life, and he's able to kind of cobble them together side by side in this light, lovely way with his own anxieties in there. And at the end of it, he kind of does a little lasso around it all, and he frames it up as, okay, well, we're just going to make a choice. It's either optimism or pessimism. And you go, okay, we've taken all these things and they're our choices. And he says, I know what I'm taking. And he takes optimism. And he says, I just want to be around for the end of the book. And I bet you do too. So he's got a lovely way of cobbling together the everyday.
And it's so relatable. It's always relatable. You can picture yourself going through all of these trials and tribulations.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the end of it all, sort of fashioning it together into what sort of person are you? And you know what? Whatever sort of person you are, whether you're the optimist, whether you're the pessimist, there's a place for you. We all just want to know what the end of the story looks like. And that's, I guess that's
it's really sweet.
Yeah, that's why people tuned in for so many years. And Richard, I know you're writing feverishly. You can't get rid of that article that you still do for the Herald. Anyway, good luck to you, good sir.
And thanks for coming to Avoca Beach.
Yeah, and Deb Oswald, Richard's,
the other half. of the power couple.
Oh, my Lord. So Deb's an extraordinary woman, the creator of Offspring. You'll be hearing her story in a few weeks' time. She came up. Anyway, you can imagine Avoca just was beside themselves by having those two. Not as excited as Ado and I, though. It was just delightful.
It was.
My friends, if you happen to be in the Southern Highlands around August 14, so Virgin in a Knife Fight, my one-man show, we're sort of opening up touring again in August, just a couple of different venues. But the Southern Highlands, the Centennial Vineyards restaurant, I've partnered up with the Southern Highlands Collab, which is a Youth Impact Foundation venture. We're looking after finding resources for young people. August 14, come on down. We're in a beautiful little restaurant, bespoke little space, turning it into a theatre for the night. Good fun. And then if you're on the northern side of Sydney, Glen Street Theatre, August 21 and 22, the beautiful Glen Street, Virgin in a Knife Fight's going to be there. If you follow me on Instagram, Robbie J. Carlton, you'll find all the tickets in my bio. And if you're even vaguely a human, you should be able to find tickets about the place because you just type all of that stuff into Google and it'll get you there. Thanks so much for listening to Brave Words. And remember, share these stories with people that you love.
See you next time.
Bye.